as well. But let's quickly move on to Amar Singh, Head Advisory at Angel Broking. Welcome to the show, Amar. 2 days of weakness that we have seen in trade. But for today's day of trade, if someone wants to take intraday positions, being a Friday as well, what would your top recommendations be for today's day of trade?
Yeah, a very good morning. There are two buy recommendations which I have, and these are particular stocks which are seeing some strong bullish momentum and also some strong support on the downside. So the first is IGL. What we are witnessing in IGL is that this stock seems to have formed a bottom around 240 odd levels, and technically it's taken strong support around 240-250 zone. And if I look at it from a long-term perspective also, it has corrected significantly from almost 360 levels. And it's showing positive momentum on the short-term charts as well as the medium-term charts. It was in oversold territory. So it's moving out of that. So ideally one can look at buying IGL with a stop loss at 258 and a target of 302 on the upside. Currently it's around 374 levels. And the second stock to look at is India Bulls Housing Finance. What we are witnessing in this particular stock is that technically this stock has definitely formed a bottom. It got extremely strong support around 1100 levels, and also from a long-term perspective, the stock is finding strong support around lower levels. And technically, I would say that in the medium term, it is in oversold territory. In the short term, there is positive bias in the stock. So this stock can be used as a buying opportunity. Any dip towards 1200 levels can be used as a buying opportunity with a stop loss of 1148 and a target of 1325 on the upside. So these are the two stocks on the buy side that I would recommend today.
Amar, any other stocks where you're seeing a weakness trend which perhaps could be good short candidates? Because again, we have seen the markets are offering opportunities on both sides, and almost there has been good swing trades what we have been seeing over the last 5 to 6 sessions. So any short trades which you think are looking with a good margin of safety?
I would say there's one stock one can look at is Aban Offshore. What we are witnessing here is that technically this stock has been on a downtrend. And it continues to be there, and it's forming lower tops and lower bottoms. So that clearly reflects that there is further weakness in this stock. So currently it's around 102 odd levels. So any pullback can be used as a shorting opportunity with a stop loss above 109 and a target of 91 in the short term.
Also, Amar, what will be your view on stocks again which have shown some good long addition yesterday? One again, basically we saw Yes Bank adding some good long positions, good sort of outperformance. Second, HDFC Bank started seeing some long addition in the last 2 hours of trade. Again, results are on Saturday. What will be your view on these two stocks?
Yeah, talking about Yes Bank, what we are seeing in Yes Bank is that Yes Bank's, if I look at it, the stock, technically the stock is definitely very strong. It was in consolidation. If you look at the levels, it was unable to earlier breach the 350-360 zone because that was acting as a crucial resistance zone for this particular stock. So that being taken out clearly reflects that the stock is in a very strong trend. And this is one stock I would say on the banking space which was in consolidation. If you look at the short term and even the long term charts, it was in consolidation and it has breached that consolidation. And also technically I would say it's very strong on the short term charts as well, and as well as medium term and long term. So in this stock, any pullback can be used as a buying opportunity. As I said, 370, below 370 is a very strong support zone. So the stop loss needs to be below that. But since if you look at the stock yesterday, the stock witnessed almost 2% rally. So anywhere if we look at this particular stock, so I would say a pullback towards, it's currently on 392, 93. So any pullback towards 380 ideally would be a good level to buy the stock with a stop loss below 370 and a target of 400 on the upside. And talking about the other stock which you mentioned, HDFC Bank. If I look at HDFC Bank, what we are seeing in HDFC Bank is that it is continuing to be extremely strong on the charts. There's no doubt about it. Technically, it's, I would say, still very strong on the charts, and the bullish momentum continues to be strong. That's the key point. However, what we are seeing on the daily charts is that day before yesterday, it formed a shooting star formation on the daily chart. So that clearly reflects that on the upside, it's going to meet with very strong resistance, a high which it had made of 20 to 20. Currently it's around 2186. So that's going to act as a very strong resistance for the stock, and if the stock is not able to take that out, then we could witness the stock go in some consolidation. On the downside, 2120, 2140, that should act as an immediate level of very good support for this stock.
Amar, when I look at the Asian markets, the sort of tempting conclusion would be that metals again basically should be having a weak trade today. And when I was saying, why actually I'm saying tempting sort of conclusion, primarily because there has been continuous selling in these counters, and then you start wondering, are they oversold or not? But then when you look at the base metals, commodities in general, we actually saw some new lows being created yesterday in the LME trade here. So Hindalco, Hindustan Zinc, Vedanta, anything where actually you're seeing a sort of good marginal safety short trade, if there is any short trade.
I would say that, see, what's happening in the metal stocks is that yesterday also, you're right, and over a period of time also, if we look at the charts from a medium-term perspective and even long-term perspective, the metal stocks have been in a downtrend, but they did witness some consolidation, I would say, and there was a pullback on 17th and 17th July, but again then we witnessed a sell-off. But what I see, first I'll talk about Hindalco. What I see is that Hindalco has got extremely strong support around these levels, current levels. I would say 190, 194, 195. That's a very strong support zone for Hindalco. Taking that out, yes, if that is taken out and it continues to trade below that, then we could see some real sharp further correction in Hindalco, because then the next level of crucial support comes at around 172 to 175 zone. So I would say the trend is still remaining bearish, so one should be cautious. And also what we are seeing is that yesterday there was a very sharp sell-off, so we'll have to watch out how it plays today. And talking about Vedanta also has a similar, more or less similar pattern. And if you look at Vedanta and compare it with Hindalco, what we saw in Hindalco was a comparatively major sell-off versus Vedanta, which seems to be forming a bottom. So it somewhere has a very strong support zone around 200, 201. That's where the stock is finding some support for the last 3 odd trading sessions. But I would say that still the trend remains negative, so we should rather wait for some consolidation. As far as getting on the short side, if one wishes to trade on the short side, then ideally one has to wait for a pullback. And looking at Vedanta, that level could be 213, 214. That could be a level. If the stock bounces back, one could go for some selling, because as I see is that the metal stocks are currently around very crucial support zones, and give and take here and there, a couple of rupees here and there. But overall, the stocks are extremely supported on these levels. If these levels are breached, then we could see some sharp sell-off in the metal stocks as well.
Right, so those are the metals, and that's the view coming from Amar on how you should be trading on metal stocks. Let's take a short break, but stay tuned, because when we return from the break, there will be more strategies. We will be actually looking into more NBFC stocks. Again, there were actually some sort of buzzing stocks there, Bajaj Finance in particular. We'll be talking about Reliance Industries, how's that looking, and also the pre-open trades, currency cues, and the bond market cues, all of that after the break.
Welcome back. You're watching Dealing Room. SPX Nifty currently indicating 10,966 levels, pretty much stable since we've started to track it in today's day of trade. But Amar, coming to you as well, with regards to where the sugar pack is concerned, one stock that we want to watch out for in today's day of trade is Balrampur Chini, which is from the F&O side as well. There are news reports suggesting that the government is asking the sugar companies to produce as much ethanol as possible, and they will buy all the same as well. Now, this is really going to augur well for the sugar companies. Anything that's looking interesting?
Yeah, I would say that what we are seeing in Balrampur Chini technically is that, see, if you look at the stock has been on a free fall from almost 175 odd levels, and currently it's around 62. So the stock has really been beaten down very hard. Now, coming on the technical side, what we are seeing is on the weekly charts, the stock has been witnessing consolidation for almost now since the start of May, and it seems to have formed a bottom. So on the daily charts also, what we are witnessing is that there is some bullish divergence on the charts. But what we see is that somewhere on the upside, 70 is acting as a very crucial resistance zone for the stock. And if I look at the earlier levels, 74, 75, those are the levels. So what I see is that, yes, the downside seems to be limited for the stock. The stock is showing some signs of revival, but the stock needs to consistently trade above 70 odd levels for any meaningful rally. And if it takes out 74, 75 on the upside, then yes, the stock would rally towards 84, 85 levels, because that's going to be the next level of resistance. Whereas yes, on the downside, the stock has formed a very strong support. So 58, 59 zone, 58 to 60, you can say that's a very strong support zone for the stock in the short term.
Right, so that's the view coming. Sugar perhaps could be the wild card, could be an interesting sector to watch out for today. So again, let's see how the pre-open rates pan out for the sugar stocks here. Also in terms of perhaps other stocks, but Dalmia Bharat 2% up, RBL Bank now almost 2% up, so looking interesting. Amar, coming to you, first up, if there were any stocks which are spotted in the first 2-3 minutes of trade, but also I want to ask you, and I want to add here, RBL Bank now up 2%, so is that stock qualifying as a buy sort of candidate? Number 2 at present, ICICI Bank again is up 1%, Reliance is up 1%, and also Dalmia Bharat is up 2%, and also Ashok Leyland, there is a sort of buying which is coming. The stock is now 108. Any of these stocks, perhaps which you have liked, or any other call which is spotted?
I would say that talking about RBL Bank, what we are witnessing is that RBL Bank had witnessed a significant upside from almost 500 to 600 levels, and then it corrected sharply, and somewhere around 550 it was taking some support. And the reason it has bounced back, because that's a very crucial support around 540, 550 zone. So those who were on the short side, they covered their shorts, and also those who wanted to go long, that was a very good level to buy. Because RBL Bank, what we are seeing is that now it's going to go in a range, and till the time this range is not breached, I would say decisively, the stock is likely to go in for consolidation. So on the downside, I would say 540, 550, that's a very strong support zone for the stock. But again, on the upside, 580, 585, 595, 600 zone, that's a very strong resistance. So the stock is likely to trade in a range. From a long-term perspective, I would say the stock is still not very strong. Short-term and medium-term, still the trend is positive. So that's the reason we are seeing these choppy trading sessions. But I would say that it's now going for consolidation. Talking about the other stocks which you mentioned, I'll talk about Dalmia Bharat. Here what we are witnessing is that, again, if you look at this stock, it was witnessing significant correction from almost 3,300 levels, and then it came down all the way down to 2,200 levels. And it has bounced back, but this bounce back, whether it holds, we'll have to watch out, because from an intermediate term perspective, the stock remains extremely weak. It has been trading in oversold territory and being close to support zones. That's the reason we saw this pullback. But we'll have to watch out whether this stock really sustains above, I would say, 2,400 levels, because it's currently on 2344 or so. So sustaining above 2,400 levels consistently, then only the stock could have some meaningful bounce back. And that bounce back could take the stock towards 2520, 2530. Otherwise, I would say that the stock is still, technically speaking, the stock is in a sell mode. But since the stock was beaten down significantly and it was close to its support zone, that's the reason we witnessed this short covering or some bounce back. And talking about the third stock which you mentioned, ICICI Bank. If we look at ICICI Bank, what we see is that ICICI Bank is completely in the private sector space. This stock has not performed and continues to consolidate. Any pullback is being used as a shorting opportunity. On the upside, the stock is capped around the 295, 300, 305 zone. The downside definitely has got some strong support if you look at it technically around 250 odd levels, 250, 255. That's a very strong support zone, but I would not, I would say that rather stay away, because you'd be witnessing some consolidation in the stock. And even if I look at the trend, technically the trend isn't strong and the trend isn't positive. So rather stay away from the stock right now.
Right, those are the calls here. Bring Reliance Industries on the screen right now.
On Mindtree. Amar, any other trades that you've identified before we wrap this up? Something like a Sterlite Technology seeing a bounce back. Last couple of months have been good for this one after bottoming out at 250. Anything else that you're looking at on the charts?
Yeah, I'll talk about Sterlite Technologies. This stock has definitely bounced back, and I would say technically it has taken support and continues on 320 levels. So any pullback can be used as a buying opportunity. The stop loss in the stock needs to be below 300 and a target of 340 on the upside. And the one stock one can look at is L&T Finance. L&T Finance, what we are witnessing is that this stock seems to have formed a bottom, and also there is a double bottom formation on the chart somewhere around 140 levels. And technically the stock has taken strong support on long-term charts as well as short-term charts. And short-term charts are clearly indicating bullish divergence, and some upside is possible. Currently it's around 151 levels, so any pullback towards 147, 148, that can be a good level to buy with a stop loss below 145 and a target of 156 on the upside.
All right. Amit, any final word you want to leave us with? Anything else that investors should be looking at to add in their portfolio? All right. Amit, any final word? Ashish, Amit, as well as Amar, thanks so much for joining in this morning, running us through your reading of the market. It is all about the no trust vote today, so a little cautious ahead of that, but trading with a mild positive bias. In fact, you've just given up